Hello, welcome to the channel. So Fantastic Beasts 3 just can't catch a break. From Warner Brothers firing, but also still paying Johnny Depp, to hiring Mads Mikkelsen, to of course the controversy around Amber Heard, and just so much stuff. Fantastic Beasts 3 is now stopped production. They've had to pause filming because a team member, no guarantees of who that is, no statement of who it is exactly, but a team member has tested positive for COVID. Now this is interesting because I know what they were doing for their testing procedures on the Batman, and if they've changed it, great, that's fine, not much to read into here. But if they haven't changed it, then it indicates that absolutely, unequivocally, someone quite important has tested positive for COVID, or at least someone who's coming into contact with a lot of people. Because the way that they were doing it was interesting to get past a lot of the rules and regulations. It was very, very interesting. I knew a lot. Batman was shooting in the UK, so I knew people that were on the production. So I was privy to how they were handling their testing procedures, and it was interesting. It was interesting. They well took into account the false positive rate. Let's just say that. But anyway, just can't catch a break. So now it's paused, which in terms of overall production costs, it's not going to change it that much. Like, this is not a video for doom and gloom. It's just a report on the news and how it may affect the release date of Fantastic Beasts 3. But in terms of the overall cost of it and how Warner Brothers will view this shutdown, it's not going to affect it that much because interest rates are at an all-time low. Yes, they'll probably want to get it out ASAP still, and they won't want it to really affect its release date, but it's not a massive deal. It's not a huge deal. Warner Brothers are taking huge losses at the moment. They're allowing for a lot of lost leaders. This is probably a film that they would want to release in theatres and not end up over on HBO Max, mainly and primarily because of the amount of money that they've had to pay out for two leads, whereas one of them's not even in the show anymore or on the movie anymore, which is Johnny Depp, because of course they're still paying Johnny Depp his $10 million whilst asking him to leave. But they're now paying Mads Mikkelsen his new contractual, rate to get on board for this. But anyway, let's dive into this report, and then I'll tell you what I know and how this kind of pertains to this COVID test. But Warner Brothers says in a statement to The Hollywood Reporter that a team member from Fantastic Beasts 3 has tested positive for COVID-19. The diagnosis was confirmed as a result of required and ongoing testing that all production employees receive, and the team member is currently in isolation. Out of an abundance of caution, Fantastic Beasts 3 paused production and will be back up in accordance with safety guidelines. Now, I know people that worked on Batman. People tested positive for COVID-19 on the Batman, and they didn't shut down. And they didn't shut down because how Warner Brothers have been handling their testing and allowing, again, for false positives, which is always a thing, and I think it's acceptable to allow for false positive rate, is they would test people, again, like they say here, ongoing testing. So what they were doing was testing people. If someone tested positive for COVID-19, they would wait 12 hours. That person would be put into isolation as a precaution. They would test them again. Okay, now if they then tested positive again, they would, generally speaking, allow that as the rate. Okay, 2 tests will shut you down there, just go away into isolation. But they weren't shutting down the production because it's dependent on who it is. If it's an extra, they've bubbled. So they bubble certain groups separately from other people. So they allow for that kind of contact, I guess, contact tracing, whatever you want to call it. So that's what they were doing with that anyway. Now, what they were doing on top of that was, say if they tested positive in the morning and then they tested negative in the evening, you've got 2 opposing tests there. So they would wait a further 12 hours and test the next day. If they then tested positive again, they would wait again. And then if it was another positive test, then they would shut down and that individual would go into isolation. But if they tested negative again, then they would just open back up and allow them back to work. But the fact that they're shutting down the entire production indicates that this is a member of staff that has come into contact with a lot of people. So it's probably a star. Now, we don't know that, obviously. But from what I know on the Batman and how they were handling all of that, it looks like that it's probably a big member of staff whether it's a big name, like Eddie Redmayne or whatever, it doesn't matter. Whether it's a big name or not is kind of besides the point. It's still a staff member that is in contact with a lot of people. And again, they may have changed their testing procedure. They may have had a different testing procedure for each movie. I don't know. But I know how they were handling it on The Batman at the very least. Now, this article goes on further and just documents some of the absolute joke of a production that this film has been in. The as yet untitled Harry Potter spin-off, starring Eddie Redmayne and Jude Law and shooting at Warner Brothers Studios in Leavesden, has faced a number of hurdles throughout its production. Shooting had been due to start in early 2020 but was pushed back due to the pandemic and eventually commencing in September. In November 2020, Warner Brothers took the decision to ask Johnny Depp to step down from the film after he lost his libel case against The Sun. Mads Mikkelsen was later drafted in as his replacement as Gallet. I thought it was Geralt. Oh, whatever. Gallet Grindelwald. What a terrible name. With Depp reportedly only having shot one scene from the film. After several date shifts, Fantastic Beasts 3 is currently due for release July 15th, 2022. Now, look, this is not going to delay the film. It's just not. Of course it's not going to delay the film. However, it's still a delay, isn't it? But it won't delay the release of the film. They have pushed this back far enough to allow for shutdowns. Now, it's interesting, and I will... They've stated here, out of an abundance of caution, they've paused the production. Now, legally, I think that they need to shut down for 10 days. There needs to be an isolation period of 10 days. It's either 10 days or 2 weeks. So if that's the case, it'll be interesting to see how long they shut it down for. Because they've indicated here that it's of their own free will. They could just open back up whenever they want. So we've heard about it now. And this article was quite literally wrote yesterday. So if it opens back up, shortly, then we know that it wasn't really an important member of staff. It was just someone that's kind of floated around and they'll push on forward. However, if they stay closed, I would say more than likely it'll be one of the main stars. But it remains to be seen at this point in time. But hey, look, this film just cannot catch a break. And it's fascinating to document it. But kudos to anyone making films in the pandemic. It's really hard work. I've made 2 and it's really, really hard work. It's not easy. You've got a lot going against you. Least of all the rules and regulations and the risk assessments that you have to do. But it's also the general public. There's a very strange feeling from the general public that you should be doing what they're doing, despite legally being entitled to shoot films if you want to. There seems to be this kind of, misery loves company, basically. So everyone that's really depressed and annoyed just want everyone else to be as depressed and annoyed as them, which is a shame, really, because I think entertainment has played a really important role in this pandemic, actually keeping a lot of people sane and keeping them from going off the deep end of their mental health and heading basically towards depression and suicide. I can't say the full word because YouTube will demonetize the video. But hey, look, is what it is. Let me know your thoughts down below. We shall wait and see how this progresses. But I thought you'd find this interesting. There you go. Let me know your thoughts. As always, I've been Mr. H. Take care.